Guys, welcome back to my channel. So instead of doing excuse my voice, doing my usual stuff, I was reminded of something I haven't did in a long time, and I thought I would show you guys at least part of how I did it. I have some Arteza paint pouring things that I'm gonna go play around with tomorrow, but for now, since it's a little bit late, while I think of it, I'm going to show you a neat little trick. Oops, and I have the wrong. Wow, yeah, that's nice. Messy. Art is messy. Okay, I gotta get out the right stuff. Here we go. I got out the wrong stuff anyway. Here. Alright, raw stuff. Let's try this. Alright. So, what you're gonna need is a little board, which I have gessoed. Some molding paste. This is by Golden. I got it at my local craft shop, and you're gonna need a specific type of stencil because of the nature of what I'm gonna be doing. And if it seems like I'm taking a while to peel this off, that's because as you can see that it's a little bit delicate. See? So, I gotta take my time or I could end up tearing it. I got this stencil along with a couple others from a person over in Israel. She does this, and there's something else I forget now. Shoot, I'm trying to tear this off without ripping it, and it's being uncooperative. See what I mean? You have to do it very carefully, or you can really tear it. And trust me, it has happened, and I was like very sad. This is not your average dollar store stencil. Now these can be got on Amazon. I purchased this from the seller on Etsy. So if you want to look her up, I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's from Israel. And you'll see these. They are reusable, but they're, as you can tell by how long it took me, they're sticky, so that they will adhere firmly to the surface. They're good for glass. If you're like etching glass, they will stick to almost anything unless it's something fuzzy like this. But these are especially good for glass and for this particular little hack. So I don't know if I've got this 100% centered. Yeah, it looks pretty decent. Now the trick to this, excuse me, my allergies are going bonkers, is to press firmly. You really need to make sure that all the little bits, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can see as much as my cheap little camera will let me. Okay, you have to make sure that it's all down. Like, it's worth going over it a few times. And you will need this, and I believe it's a spatula. I don't know. I forget what it's called. But it's, you know, for painting and such. Oh my. Okay, I gotta stir this up. It says this stuff will kind of settle after a bit. It's called molding paste. Now you can use molding gel, but I prefer this stuff because it's, as you can see, that it's really, whoops, no you can't see, sorry, out of frame. Anyway, it's really, as you can tell, it's, there we go, it's really stiff, see, yeah, this is what you want, it matters. Now, double check this to make sure that it's down. Now, the other thing you can do if you have excess and you're concerned about getting it on the rest of the other stencil, or here you can just kind of, this is just basically crafter's tape, and you can just kind of do that just to kind of make sure that you don't get it where you don't want it. And I'm just using a board, the back board of a Strathmore set of paper. I had used up the paper, and this board is just the board that's kind of in front of the last sheet. Anywho, make sure you, I wish I had some way to ding ding ding, hey, you're out of frame. You know, I guess that's one of the benefits of live streaming, I suppose. Anyway, I'm going to do this over here too, because I don't want this to get on the other stencil. I should have did this beforehand, but I didn't think of it. So, and it just makes it less messy. Now I'm going to go back over to make sure it's still adhering, and the thing is, when you pick this up, you have to do it very carefully. Like, don't go crazy with it. So you take your, and it doesn't matter whether you use a metal one, plastic one, it really doesn't matter, but you just kind of gently, and a little really does go a long way, but you really do want to use the edge of it, kind of, the flat side to the edge. You don't ever want to use the point, and you kind of want to go gently at first, because I kind of plopped it down a little too much in one place, and basically you just kind of go over it and you fill it in. But that's only part of the magic. What in the world? Cat hair. Gee, I wonder how that got. Okay. And I'm using a little bit more than I might normally, because it's been a minute since I did this, and I thought this would be a fun thing to share. I may not be on much next week, it depends. We've got some things going on with the house that I may not be around much, so we'll see. Okay, now that I've kind of got that gently covered, I'm going to give it just a minute or two to set up. And while I do that, you don't want to set up too much, by the way, just like a minute or two. I'll show you some of the things that I use to do my dot art with. I have this, these actually are, are technically, as you can tell this has been well used, are technically for doing nails with. And there's this, which looks like could be the tongue piercing for a giant, but actually it's to paint down with. And then there's another one, which I don't use very often because I haven't quite mastered it. There's Q-tips. There's more than one way to do it. So this should be set up enough by now. And now what you want to do when you do this is to carefully, and that's why I taped it, because I didn't want it to get on my, see now I'm going to have to wipe that off, because I didn't take that section and it got under it and onto the canvas board. Oh, crap. Hold on a second, I gotta fix it before it gets worse. Nuts. And that's why you do that. Also holds it in place. What the heck? More cat hair. Wow. Sammy can, I bet you Belinda can probably identify with that, as a number of you. Freaking hair. Jeez. You want to do this gently. This part you kind of want to take your time and get all the cat hair off. We're still pretty looking good. You want to do this part gently because especially since I'm using a metal spatula, spackle thing. I don't know. You don't want to rip the, the stencil. They are very, very delicate. Like I said, I've ruined a couple, unfortunately. Before I learned this lesson, you want to do this gently so that you can ensure a nice, even coating while not, ripping it. And it's okay to just kind of put the excess back into your thing. I don't see why not. I've had this for a while now. A little goes a long way, unless you're doing something like this. And you also don't want to make sure, the reason why I will also that I go slow is because I don't want to pull the stencil up. Now, what I'm going to do is grab my finger, because that way I can kind of feel around, and that causes me a little concern. That's not good. I think some of it may have slipped under it. That's another reason why I just sometimes, toward the end of it, I just break out the finger and go. Wait, that came out totally wrong. Oh man, today, like, I was in a stream and I wanted to say something so bad, and I was like, nope, bite your tongue, you're gonna get in trouble, you'll be put in the naughty corner. Yeah, it was hard. But after being put in the naughty corner a few times, I kind of learned my lesson. Not everybody appreciates my sense of humor, which can be, well, naughty sometimes. God and I are still working on that. It's a work in progress. Now, as you can see, I'm slowly kind of working my way down to the stencil. I'm slowly decreasing what I have. Yeah. Oh, it's not it's just a chunk of the, that's a relief. It's just like a dried up bit of the molding paste. Would you stop that? Yes, I do. Look, I'm sure I'm not the only one that talks to their stuff, and it misbehaves. Alright. In the beginning, it's okay to use this spackle thing, but toward the end, you honestly just suck it up and get in there with your finger, because that way you can feel where the stencil is, and you're a lot less likely to ruin it. In the beginning, it's okay to use the spatula, especially if it's a plastic one. I don't have that plastic ones, but this is really the best way to finish it off. I am so relieved. I thought that had gotten into the stencil and I couldn't tell. Alright, and you want to do this also because it also, you can just sort of feel that you've got a nice even coating and you don't have little irritating parts like that scratching things. So if you have the things of paper, save that backboard. It makes an excellent work surface. Sorry if I get quiet, it just means I'm concentrating. See where I rubbed a little too much off, so I'm just going back in with it and reapplying a little bit. I rubbed a little too much off. Try not to seesaw too, like too much. If you do, do it slowly and hold on to your board so that it doesn't, when you just do it slowly if you do. Otherwise, I suggest just kind of gently going in one direction. And if you don't like the level of paste, you can always add more back in. But I would do it just a little bit at a time. Otherwise, you'll just have to work all that back off again. And there's a reason for doing a lot at first is, so you can get it covered and then just gently work your way back. And that's black cat hair. Hey, man. I have a black cat. So, he had a white cat, but he is at the Rainbow Bridge, unfortunately. Okay, this looks pretty good. Alright, now, art is messy. Really, that should be my little motto. Art is messy. It really is. Especially the painting. It's messy. Okay. Now, another thing too, when you do this, kind of go through here and just kind of make sure there's none on the lip. The reason being is because when you go to open it back up, you might have a hard time of getting it back open. I know, trust me. Wipe your little spatula off. Ta-da! And you let this set for, I don't know, it usually takes maybe 30 minutes. So I will come back when this is dry and we will talk again. Okay, I'm back. It looks like it's about dry, and I've also had a chance to clean my hands a little bit. Now, when you're taking this off again, please be mindful of the stencil. Just do so gently because it's mylar or plastic or whatever, so it is something that you have to treat gently, or you will do like me and ruin a couple before you learn that lesson. Yeah. I don't know exactly how she makes these per se, but you can find them at craft stores and other places, but yeah, like I said, you can find her on Etsy. She's really good at these kind of stencils. I think she makes jewelry too. I wish I could remember her name. Well, anyway, just take your time and, you know, take it off slowly. Oh, it looks like it's some of the gesso came up with it. It's okay. Now, this is the part where you have to kind of just be careful. Make sure you guys can see. Yeah. Because, again, if you're not careful, you can rip your stencil. And also you can smudge. And also, one other tip is to make sure you wash your stencil off thoroughly with just warm soapy water, dish soap, whatever. It's just to maintain the integrity. Oh man. Well, you know, sometimes stuff happens. And as you can see, sometimes it doesn't always work out quite the way you want. Rats. This is where find it. I can never find anything when I need it. It is rats. Hold on. Bear with me a second. I am desperately trying to find something. Let's see if I can find this. Here we are. Alright, this didn't quite go 100% great. Basically, these are skewer sticks. And I think my molding paste might be no good. Sometimes just push it back down. In this case, I'm gonna have to get the molding paste back out and just kind of use this to sort of fix it. But basically, you just take your little Q-tip and just push it back down gently. Sometimes it doesn't always pull up the way you would like. I think I might have gone back over it a little too much. Now the other thing you can do too is to take some gouache and mix it with the molding paste, or you can use gesso, and you can put a color down. Oh, that one didn't go so good. And sometimes, you know, it doesn't always work out 100% the way you would like. There's a couple spots that didn't really lay down like I would have preferred. But the nice thing about this is if you get it before it dries, you can sometimes sort of fix it. that's another thing. Don't wait until it dries. If you see parts of it that didn't really either stick, or maybe you put too much in it, just kind of didn't lay down very nicely, you just take this little skewer stick and just kind of, have a go at it. Now see that this little center part did not go very well at all. I'm sort of unhappy with that. And I know exactly what I did wrong. I laid down too much. I pushed it into the mold too much. That's the thing with this. If you push too much molding paste into the stencil, it can cause it to not pull up right, and it can also cause it to sort of spread out from underneath the stencil a little bit. So, and that's basically what happened. So yeah, that's one way to fix it, is just it's been a minute since I did it, but I thought, oh, this is fun. And the best thing is, if you make a mistake, you see how easily it comes up? You can just take out and make whole little sections if you don't like that, and add it back in with some more molding paste if you want. Or you can let this dry and reapply. It is very forgiving. Let's see if I can get this to behave on me. You have to be careful when you're joining a wet section and a dry section together, to be delicate. And I think my molding paste has gone bad, so that's another reason why I think this kind of happened. I think the molding paste is, I've had it for a long time, and I think it kind of went bad on me. So that's another thing to be mindful. I was a little alarmed when I saw the color of the molding paste. It wasn't as white as it should have been. Do you see how easy that is to fix? I mean, you just kind of grab the tip of the skewer. I've used more skewers for art than I have food. It's a little hard to find them during the winter though, because as you know, they're a barbecue item largely. There we go. Yeah, and be generous with the amount on your tip, but not like too generous. You know, because then it's just going to go everywhere. Yeah, my molding paste has definitely gone bad. So, I'm just gonna kind of work around it. Another thing you can use, if you don't have molding paste, is, I'll show it to you. It's a thing I pulled out in the first place. Where is it? Okay. It's called I'm trying to get it up here without going off frame. That is harder than it seems, guys. There. It's hard, isn't it? Anyway, this is heavy gel. This is another thing that you can use especially when you're touching up, and I'm gonna have to rinse this off before it fully dries. As long as I get it before it's 100% dry, it's usually no big deal. But this is still way better. And you can also use this instead of the molding paste if you want. It's a little more forgiving than the molding paste, but the molding paste will dry better with a little firmer results. So, you know, it depends on whether you're going to paint over it or not. And that's where the thing is if you want, you can go over it. And I should have mixed them in. I could have showed you how you can mix that in. The molding paste, when it dries, can get kind of, especially if it's old like mine is, it can get kind of almost shard like. It won't cut you, but it can get scratchy. But this is a little more forgiving. And that I'm probably just going to leave, I think. And that's why I'm just kind of plopping this down, because actually I think it's going to look good that way. But you see what I mean? How you can fix your mistakes to a certain extent. Like the sections that came up, you can fix it. It just takes a little bit of patience. And this stuff will not dry kind of shard like the molding paste will. It's typically used for I think oil painting, if I'm not mistaken. It's used for things that I don't typically use it for. Now, that, as you can see, did not work out too well. Hold on. And this is where sometimes the molding paste is a little better because it's stiffer. And so if you're having a spot that's being particularly stubborn, it's too much. And then the molding paste is kind of work better. Yeah. You make sure you dry it off so that you can kind of clean your edges up. I mean, this is a little sloppy, but I promise you, once I've messed with it for a while and tweaked it and so forth, and also gotten molding paste that isn't gotten bad on me, as you can see, this part of it, how nicely that came up, I just pushed too much molding paste into it, and because the molding paste is a little bit old, it didn't cooperate very well in some places, but in other places, as you can tell, it looks pretty nice. So now thing that you can do is when this dries, which I would leave this overnight before you decide to mess with it, you then take your, like a very fine paintbrush. I'll show you the specific kind. Okay. Oops. There we go. Do you see how that kind of angles? This kind of particular paintbrush is especially for like dot art and things of that nature. This one's not, well, it's not very good shape. But oh, also another thing to have handy is a pair of tweezers. And these utensils, these other ones, have a rubber tip which you can then kind of push things around a little bit without messing it up. So I highly recommend investing in a set of these. You could find them in the nail art section, like on eBay or Etsy or whatever. I was hoping I had a different one of these, but I may not. Oh, well, I guess not. Alrighty. Anyway, you take a tool like this, or you could take a super fine paintbrush, like it's really tiny, you know, the detailed kind, that has a tip that is as small as this. Whoop, there we go. And you know, you can take your paint, your gouache. Man, I don't want that to dry. And you take your paint and just dip your little paintbrush or your this, whatever, and you can just paint along the edges. And sorry, I'm just trying to, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to get some more of this. Yeah. There. But you just kind of go along it and paint your design. You can just wet your finger a little and just kind of push the molding paste in, and that way you can get a nice more, I should say nice more, wow, words are hard. You can get a flatter surface. So once it starts to dry, just kind of lick your finger a little and just kind of push it into the canvas a little bit, and that way you get an idea of how things are going to truly lay. And then you can just make adjustments. And also when you go back over it with like a little paintbrush or whatever, it'll give you a much more even surface from which to work. But make sure it's a little bit dry first. And it really doesn't need to be overnight. I was thinking, as my memory served me, that it took a little bit longer, but it seems to be setting up a little bit faster than I recall. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's setting up faster than I remember. How about that? I think when COVID hit, I just started coloring, and I just threw myself into it, and I kind of forgot that I used to do stuff like this before I ever started coloring. I did some pretty cool stuff, honestly, if I do say so myself. Not that I was by any means a professional, but you know, I did sell a few things. I sold 2 of my 8x10 Dar Arts to a friend, and I got $80 for them. So you know, it was something that was pretty cool. I'd never sold my art before like that, and it was pretty exciting. I took the money, and after tithing my 10% to God, I put it into more art stuff. Yeah, this one really messed up. I'm not too happy with this one. The others came out pretty good, but this one I pushed too much, pushed too much molding paste into it, and it did not set up very well. I left it on too long. That's another thing. I was thinking maybe 30 minutes, and my memory was not 100% spot on. It was actually more like 15. So there's your tip. Don't leave it on too long. I'm just saying, don't leave it on too long, because then it will set up to the point where when you go to pull it off, some of it, no matter how careful you are, is going to come with it. So there you go. I would say closer to 15 minutes rather than 30. And you can, I wish you could see how I'm just kind of gently pushing some of this in so that it's flat. And because some of it's gotten pulled up by the act of me pulling this up. And so you kind of want it to lay. Now, I don't want to mess with those little bits too much because they came out great. Now, this is not 100% perfect. Gosh dang. There we go. Ta-da! Now, once that dries, you can paint over the raised parts, which is the areas that got filled in by the openings of the stencil, and you can then turn around and paint around those little bits if you want. I mean, there's a myriad of ways. I recommend either acrylic or gesso for the moldy parts. Oh wow, that sounded really weird. Molded parts, and make sure that you do push this down gently though, and then you can go and adjust it. But it's really important to sort of flatten that surface down. It'll make it much easier to paint over, but just push gently, especially at first when it's still a little wet. Just kind of, lick your finger a little. That way you make sure it doesn't stick, kind of like licking the bag when you're trying to open it at the grocery store. That never happened. I don't do it now, of course, but I mean, I admit to once or twice doing it because I was getting frustrated. Those stupid things just don't like to open. Anyway, there. And it's already just about dry and ready to be painted. The only thing I've really got to do is go in and rinse this off before it completely hardens, and let it fully dry, and then I will go back over with some more molding paste or probably just some of the gel and kind of tidy up the edges and stuff, because it's this part and this part kind of didn't come out very well. The rest of it came out pretty good. So that's kind of how I do that. You really do need a stencil, a sticky stencil like this though, and these are also, as I said, great for when you're doing etching glass because they stick to the glass as long as the surface is dry. But they are delicate. As you can tell, they're like a kind of a very delicate mylar plastic. So, oh, look at that. That's actually kind of cool. I don't know if I can get this on camera or not. Stupid thing. I don't know if you can see that, but where it filled in those little bits, isn't it cool? That's kind of cool. And you can see where it didn't stick too, and where it did. Kind of gives you a good idea of what happens when you leave it on too long. I was thinking it took more along the lines of 30 minutes, and I was a little bit off base. But yeah, that's kind of how that goes. I will probably mess around with this some more and post a picture of it on my Instagram when I finish it. So anyway, have a good night and take care, everyone, and stay safe.